Hello there, my name is Tenarium. Welcome back to Tenarium and Tryinmorning Talk VNs. This is episode 4, a fact that I definitely didn't forget, and this is in fact the second take of the introduction. I'm sitting here with my fellow friend and warrior, Mr. Patrick Tryinmorning.
Yep.
And we're here to talk about visual novels. See, I think, considering the last episode we did back on Tryinmorning's channel, we did all these good visual novels, pretty much all the best ones from NaNoWriMo. But now we're not. We're just playing some random visual novels, some which have been like voted or brought to our attention. So if they're not as good as the last episode, it's not my fault, it's all Patrick's fault. Have we got that clear?
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, you're more than welcome. We're on my channel now, so I'm allowed to blame you for pretty much everything. That's how it works. But yeah, how have you been, Patrick? How have you been in the 2 weeks that we definitely haven't spoke?
Well, I've been quite alright. Not a lot's happened with visual novels. At least I think we could both agree to that.
Yep, exactly. It is the couple of weeks, well, month after NaNoWriMo, but, you know, the NaNoWriMo entries start trickling through still 2 weeks afterwards. Mm-hmm. So there's, like, nothing new at all. So we've sort of dug around quite a bit. I must admit, I've had a turbulent 2 weeks, see? Personal life here. If we talk about personal life, we can make people warm to us, and then we can make them care, and then we can sell them merchandise down the road. Right? That's how that works.
The ultimate end goal of this.
Yeah, exactly. And the fact that I'm voicing it out loud in front of our audience doesn't in any way cancel that.
Yeah, it makes it fun, indeed.
Yeah, exactly. So on Tuesday, my girlfriend and I actually broke up. See? That's true, that is. We've been dating we've been dating for about a year and a bit. So we broke up. It's good news. It means I no longer have to shave anywhere. It's great. You should see my beard at the moment. It is wonderful. I am one of these people who can't grow beards. Like, for toffee. So I've left this now for a good... I think it was due a shave probably this week. It's been due a shave a while. But this has been going on now for about a month and a half. And it's still rubbish. It's still like a normal person left theirs for a week. Like, all the hairs are still separated. You can still see the skin amongst the beard. It's rubbish. Rubbish, I tell you. But yeah, see, even though we split up, and even though I was heartbroken, crying, eating, and doing all those romantic things you're supposed to be doing, right? I definitely didn't just get over it and play Heroes of the Storm with other people. That wasn't what happened, because that would be uncompassionate. That would make me come across as a wanker, right? And we can't have that.
No, that would never happen.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, even though all this terrifying things happened to me, here I am, still doing it. See, I'm crying on side. That's what counts.
Mm-hmm.
I've been told to always believe in yourself and what's within. That's what's truly important. So I'm crying inside. This is truly a false exterior. So, should we get on to news? Enough about us.
Yeah, let's go on.
Enough about us. First of all, there was a bit of a fuck up. What happened? I helped White Cat Games test Blue Rose because I had a Mac lying around, right? I have like my main PC, and then I go to bed, and then I open my Mac, and I use my Mac in bed. Can you tell I'm middle class?
No, not in the least.
Yeah, exactly, but I have a Mac in my bed, so I tested it out there. But from where I'd got a review code, a press copy for Blue Rose, back God knows when, like a year ago, a year and a half, a long time ago, I got an email this week or 2 weeks ago, something like that, which gave me a Steam key for Blue Rose. I was like, oh, I'm almost certain that this shouldn't be mine. Like, it was a press copy. I already have it. If I need it, I can just download it. So I asked White Cat Games whether I can give it out on the show, and she said yes. I think it's a she. The avatar is. I don't know. I'm assuming. I don't really think about it until I questioned it, but Yeah, so lovely. They gave me a Steam key of Blue Rose to give out. So, I had this idea a week ago, can you tell? Basically, it's about mods on Steam. This is how you're going to win it. Right. If you could put any mod into any visual novel, whether this visual novel exists or not, what would it be? So it could be adding Jiggly Boobs into any of the Sakura games, or it could be something which isn't complete shit. Like, whatever. The sky is your limit, or your imagination. Either or, really. But basically, whoever I deem has the best idea for a mod for any visual novel gets a key. I'll send you a message on YouTube. I probably won't announce it next show because it's like 2 weeks from now, and that's a really long time to wait. So I'll just message you on YouTube and then announce it. It'll all be fun. Patrick, if you had to put on a mod on any visual novel to improve it, what would you do?
Well, you mean aside from Jiggly Boobs, since that's obviously the clear choice.
And Jiggly Bums as well. You're not allowed that.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that's like what the Skyrim community has done for the better part of 4 years or whatever. I don't know. If I had to do something, maybe it'd be for Magical Diary. Add some fun things there. I think I was actually talking a few episodes ago how I'd like to be able to run for prison in that game and then impose my iron-fisted rule.
Ah, that's a good one. Yeah, shit. I might just have to give the Steam key to you at this rate.
Yes, then we can all be accused of collusion and that kind of thing, right?
Yeah, have you ever seen that Father Ted episode where they need to pay for something, so they rig a raffle so they win the car? That's what this is like. We're just rigging the vote, and it's just me publicly handing you over a key. It'll be wonderful.
Yeah, pretty much.
So, yeah. Let's get on to news. Proper news, shall we? Not just a competition. Toko Reject Demon thingy. They originally, this is a game from Lupisoft, who I've since discovered don't like me. But they originally delayed a game that was supposed to come out whenever Mortal Kombat came out, like a couple of weeks back. And
why was it tied to that release in particular? Or is that just you saying that?
That's me saying that. Basically, they delayed it, supposedly, so it wouldn't come out with the release of Mortal Kombat. Now, I don't know about you, but I can't think there's much of a crossover in that audience.
I don't know, you might be wrong there. They're going to lose so many sales because of that, I'm sure.
Yeah.
I know. Mortal Kombat, what was this called again?
Toko Reject Demon or Reject Demon Toko?
Sounds like it has to be the same concept, though. I mean, pretty much.
Yeah, it's... Oh, The Reject Demon Toko Chapter 0. That's what's coming out. But yeah, they initially delayed it because it was coming out with Mortal Kombat, and then like a week passed, and they admitted it had nothing to do with that. They're just doing more QA.
Huh.
When I originally told a developer friend about, oh, they're delaying it, do you really think there's much of a crossover, lol? He went, nah, it's probably just a lie. It's probably just QA. And then a week later they went, we could release it now, but we really want to do more QA. I was like, oh my god, you were right. Like, they were. I don't know why. But that's coming out on the 9th. I've been challenged by JP to play it and review it. It's going to be hard, though, if it's not complete story. If it is just an episode 1 of a series, I hate episodic gameplay. Like any Telltale game, I'll always wait until every chapter's been released before I start playing it. Because otherwise, it's just like, God, this is really good. And then, like, fucking 4 months later, it's like, God, who the fuck were you? I have no idea. And, you know, like, dysfunctional systems pulled it off where they released an episode 1 and then just abandoned it, went, fuck it, can't be asked. And I've seen it with loads of visual novels where they've released an episode 1 and then just not done it. They've not done an episode 2. So, yeah, I'll try and review it, but forgive me if my motivation isn't particularly high.
That's understandable.
News. Yeah, exactly. More news. We have just so little news that I just crammed anything into here, really. However, nothing to be taken away from this next one. Just a quick shout out for any visual novel developers who listen to this, or anyone who's ever wanted to create a visual novel. There's this podcast called The Buzz I think if you just put in the BuzzVM podcast, it'll happen. You can do it after this fucking episode, alright? You can watch this episode and then do this.
It's the least you could do.
Yeah, exactly. We're more important, unfortunately. Like, we're not. That's not how that works. But we are for the sake of you staying here. But, yeah, they talk from, like, a wide variety of different things, and they do lots of research, so they don't stammer over themselves as much as you and I do. We're really good at that.
We're pros.
Yeah, exactly. We've almost made that our thing. We're professionals at doing that. But they do a load of interesting things. I started listening to, I think, like episode 6 or episode 7. Don't remember which one it was. And it was like 2 hours long, and I was like, oh, all right, well, I guess I'll put this on and see how it goes, because the last VM podcast I listened to was awful. I won't say which one it is. And then before I knew it, I was like sort of like an hour and a half in, and I was still listening to it. I was like, oh wow, this is actually really good. So yeah, that's something you can do after watching this episode. More news. In the last episode, we referred to one of the members of Cyanide T being, what was it, Lorelei Nguyen?
Yeah, I think that's what you said anyway.
Yeah, that's what I said. I think you went for another pronunciation, which was still wrong.
Yeah, I tried doing it once, and I tried it again. I think I got closer to it, or at least the like American version that we say here.
Yeah, exactly. Turns out Dev then contacts us on Twitter and said that it's Lorelei Nguyen. So
there you go.
I was so far off the mark. Like, the mark was there, and I just put a blindfold on and missed it by several hundred yards.
It happens.
Yeah, it happens. It's because I've always been very careful as to how to pronounce these things ever since there was someone at my work, and I had to call her, and I just went, I'm so sorry, how do you pronounce your surname? Because I don't know. I guessed it was Nay, because it was NG. It wasn't. It was just N. She said, oh yeah, it's Mrs. N. Mrs. N. Yeah, Mrs. N. And I just felt kind of silly saying it. But just because I was so wide off the mark, I never really tried to pronounce it a proper way. Or in any way as to how it's read. So that's why it was pronounced wrong. And moving on to the final bit. I don't look much through anyone's Kickstarter. Just because Kickstarter has a bit of a bad reputation. Now, obviously not everyone fails to deliver. Yes, I'm looking at The Guardian Spell by Wingcloud, which still hasn't come out despite them doing other projects in the meantime. Not looking... That's Guardian Spell by Wingcloud. Not looking at that. Because it's got a bit of rub, I didn't really look into it that much. However, there's a few caught my eye. Over the Hills and Far Away. That, actually, I've just realised failed. Oh, good. Yeah, they asked for like 6,000 quid, which is a lot of money. It's like $10,000 if the exchange rate is still 1.6. So it's actually nearer like $9,000 something. And that fell. I only got like $2,000 or something. That was a bit of a weird thing. They sent me a tweet on Twitter going, hey, we've got this game. Do you want to play it? And I only realised that I had a notification I was leaving work. Someone asked me to look at something on Twitter. I was like, okay, I'll read it when I get home. Get back home, I don't have a notification. I was like, that's odd. I swear I had one. Look at my emails. And it turns out that, yeah, they sent me a tweet but deleted it. What happened is, because they probably had a demo, they were like, oh yeah, he does visual novels. Sent me a tweet. Then saw the stuff I do on my channel and went, oh. And then deleted it. So that's a thing. It's a shame, though. I mean, the goal was quite high. That's probably the highest I've ever seen for a visual novel, but it's probably realistic. It annoys me when I see, like, visual novels like, I'm asking for $1,000. You are going to get fuck all done with $1,000. You are maybe going to pay for some, if not most, of the art. That's not going to get you anything. $1,000. Yeah, it's a shame. Invisible Part 2 is also on Kickstarter at the moment. I played 1. 1 was very hard. Like, if I had to rate it out of 10, which I almost never... I don't like doing just because it's very misconstrued, I'd rate it 5. Now, a lot of people would say it's really low, but I'd say that's just average. Like, 5, average. It didn't really set my world alight. The storytelling and pacing was, like, really choppy through it. That's the only way I can describe it. Did you ever get around to playing it at all, Patrick?
No, I never got around to playing that one, so I can't judge.
Yeah, shame. All right, well, yeah, it's very blocky and choppy. the way it's told. The art's good, and I really like music because I'm a sucker for anything which is just a bland guitar and someone singing. But yeah, they're asking for €2,000, which is, fuck knows, $2,500, maybe a little less. So it's not much, and they're probably going to do it because they're on 768 now with 16 days to go, and in the last couple of days, I don't know why, but there's always just like a spending spree and people just throw money at you, so they're probably fine. And the last one is a Starlight Vega, I've noticed, on Kickstarter. I've been seeing this retweeted into every one of my timelines. So I was trying to figure out why, because I don't follow that many visual novel people. And it turns out that Sekai Project have recently published them. So with 20 days to go, they offer 3,550, which, again, probably not enough to do a whole visual novel if you were to pay for your own time as well. But at the minute, they have $10,884. That's a lot of fucking money.
Mm-hmm.
It's an absurd amount of money. So, well done them. They're clearly going to do it. I personally looked through even just the screenshots of this game. I didn't even have to play the demo and went, it's really cliched at the moment. They've got this line where it's an eccentric girl who's speaking to a shy girl who says, but I'm so glad the stone, I presume the stone is some magical thing they got, but I'm so glad the stone got attached to such a cute girl. And I was like, it's actually just, it's just tropes and stereotypes over and over, isn't it?
Yeah, not exactly original.
Yeah, exactly. So, not exactly original, but they're doing well. And we're not being paid, so we're fools, right? That makes us fools.
I guess so in the end.
Yeah, exactly. So that's the end of the news. I have a quick question, though, to ask you, Patrick. Just before we get to the games. It happened in every one of these games, and it drives me up the wall. Right? It takes like 10 seconds to fix. But the text speed in games.
Oh, yeah.
Why is the default always so fucking low? Who reads that slowly?
I don't know. Maybe if you're a young child or if you're a robot who's trying to read a voice. I don't know.
Okay, so if you're a child... I just never understood. Not even a child, because that means for a child, just all the text would appear at once. It's not difficult. I don't get why it slowly unravels.
Well, hold on, Chris. Hold on a second. Let me let you know right now that you're actually judging people who might be dyslexic and cannot read. This is a feature for them. So I think you're being very inconsiderate right now.
It's not! That's the point. When you said children, I went, oh yeah, maybe. And then I went, well no, hang on a second, because if it's text speed, it just means that it appears a lot faster and then they have as much time as they want to read through it. If they're dyslexic and it's going slowly, but they can't quite keep up, they're just going to feel bad about it.
I don't know. Maybe it's for people who can't handle all those words at once. Like all of a sudden there's a whole bunch of text on the screen like, blah!
Can't handle two... Those are the kind of people who shouldn't be allowed to play games. If you cannot... Yeah, whatever. But yeah, let's go on to our first visual novel, shall we? That was merely a question I had. It's been driving me up the wall about all these
it's definitely too slow. I'll agree.
I don't understand why it still happens. I cannot read that quickly. Like, when I'm on my YouTube channel and I'm sort of like going through the Let's Plays, I'm always 2 words ahead of what I'm at... Well, 2 or 3 or 4 words ahead of where I'm actually reading. Just because that's how my brain works. However, that's how a lot of people's brains works when they're reading out loud. Like, no one reads that slowly. They're like, the dog went to the beach. That's what it says. Like, got it unraveled at that time as I kept up with it. No, it doesn't happen. But yeah, first visual novel.
Alright, so the first visual novel that we tried playing this last week was called Wounded by Words. And this is a visual novel that was developed by someone who Chris is familiar with, right?
Go on, try pronouncing their name.
Oh, God. I'm not going to be able to do this. Her name is Tryinmorning Madkin?
Yeah,
I have no idea.
Completely butchered that.
We're going to have to... Hopefully they can explain that to us on Twitter so we can fix that next time, but yeah. I
asked before, and they just linked me to like a Wikipedia thing and went, "Oh, it's like this." I don't fucking know the alphabet either. Like,
we should say that Lorelei, she sent us, I think it was a video which had the pronunciation right.
Oh yeah, but to be fair, like Nguyen is, just, I imagine, a common-ish Asian surname.
Yeah, I think it's one of the most common.
How many videos are there going to be of people trying to pronounce whatever it was you just said? Like, I don't even know what it means. What does it even mean?
Don't ask me. Are you looking this up now?
I am looking this up now. I'm curious. What is the betting that it means absolutely nothing? It's just like 2 words put together here to troll us.
It means trolling people. In German.
It means dream end Madchen. I don't know what Madchen means. Neither does Google, apparently. Traumendes is dream end, but Madchen is... Oh, maiden. Dream end maiden?
Maybe like a maiden of dreams or something like that. I don't know.
Sorry, you made a sound when I said that as if to be enlightened, as if like, oh, that's what it means. I am still none the wiser.
Yeah, I really don't know. It's just like, yeah,
look, she's French. She's no idea what she's on about, all right? Her on speciality is running away from war. That is it. It's not my fault, man. I just go by facts. But yeah, anyway, go on. We got her name out of the way.
All right, so Wounded by Words, it begins with your character, Agatha, who's, I think, at a shopping mall of some sort, when all of a sudden there's a bomb that goes off. There's a whole bunch of destruction and rubble, and at first you're knocked onto the ground, and people start running around, and they start trampling over you, and then an elderly lady comes along, and she helps you up. But then at that moment, the floor collapses from underneath you, and you end up trapped between floors. So you're with the older lady, and you talk for a little bit. Eventually, you guys manage to climb down through a hole into the sub-floor, which is, I guess, the basement. And when you get to that level, you find a couple of other survivors who happen to be... I think the first one is Alicia that you meet, who is a young single woman who's raising a child. And her child's name is Hassan, who is the young child. At that point, you hear some noise from the bathroom, which happens to be located pretty close to you in this locked-in area. You're trapped from leaving at this moment in time. So you go into the bathroom and you find someone on the floor who is Gabriel. He's a young man, and he's actually, well, he's not in the wheelchair at the time, but you help him into his wheelchair. And you find out that he was also trapped here as well, while he was in the bathroom, I guess.
How did you get here? Oh, well, I tunneled in. What about you? Like, what?
I guess he just happened to be in the bathroom.
How else is he going to be there? Like, yeah, well, I mean, I was actually speaking to Jesus, and then he decided he was bored of me and threw me down here. Isn't that my luck?
So you get him out of the bathroom and put him back in his wheelchair, and then you hear yet another person who seems to still be alive, and that person is buried under rubble, and his name is Dave. Which,
Dave?
I don't know, that seems kind of familiar, doesn't it?
The best of all the names.
Of course. The best of all the names, but he's the character who's got the least screen time and, you know, has the least to do with anything, because his route isn't in the game itself. That's
probably for the best. Did you know he did once have a route, but... A route? Oh, God, no! No, we'll edit that out, it's fine. He used to have a route, but couldn't be finished in time, because this game was made for a jam, I believe. Dave, he was called as such as tribute to me, apparently.
I see. And did I just trick Chris into saying route against his will?
Yep, it was against my will.
There we go.
I was pretty much offended. Hang on, I'm looking for this tweet. Yeah, speaking of Dave, I didn't have time to include his route. I'll have to do it in order not to disappoint you. Oh, God. I tweet apparently too much. Jesus Christ. There's a lot of notifications I'm having to go through. Also, I didn't know how to name my characters, so I called someone Dave to pay tribute to ChrisTenarium. There we go. See?
And a proper tribute it is, as Dave is probably like the most, or he's supposed to be the most offensive character of the group.
Yeah, I'd say that's fair enough. It's a tribute to me, apparently. I'll take any tribute.
He's a middle-class white male who offends others. So there you go.
Yeah, I mean, that is pretty much just me, isn't it?
I guess so.
Yeah, exactly. So remind us of some of the things Dave says.
Something along the lines of, you know, there's the elderly lady whose name is Aileen. Hopefully I'm pronouncing that right. Aileen? I don't know. She mentioned at one point...
Is it E-I?
It's A-L-I-N-E. So,
That's probably Eiley.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess. Anyway, she goes on about something about how she's joined an organization that supports LGBT rights and supports women and that kind of thing. And then Dave speaks up. It's like, hold on a second, feminists? Don't you mean people that hate men?
Yep. See? This one time I get a character named after me in tribute. It turns out he's just a complete idiot. I mean, no, he's completely right. Completely right. All feminists, they hate their men, they do. I've met, actually, feminists before. Barely got out alive. It was vicious.
Right, but anyway, moving on.
Is that the only thing offensive thing Dave says?
Does he say more than that? No, I think at one point he, I'm not sure if he outright denies that autism exists, but he questions it, I think.
Yeah, sorry, I giggled at that. I didn't mean to. What I was actually laughing at was how anyone could question his thoughts. Because,
naturally.
I mean, autism doesn't exist. It's just people who pretend to be poorly to get money.
Exactly, of course.
That's not what happens. That is not what happens. Spoilers. Spoilers.
Spoilers, there's a lot of sarcasm.
That is not what happens, right? Autism is a real thing. Are we good? Have we got that clear?
Yeah,
okay.
We like that a little bit of fun.
Yeah, back to me 2 minutes ago. Autism doesn't exist.
So, moving on, as you all gather around, and obviously Dave's kind of like the odd man out, and he's kind of just like a bit of a trope. He just kind of says offensive things, and you know, everyone kind of rolls their eyes at him, and he doesn't really fit into the rest of the game, so his addition's kind of weird, but, you know, whatever. At least we have a Dave character, I suppose. So you guys are all talking together, and you're talking about your survival chances, and you gather what resources you have, which is just like a bottle of water and some, I don't remember what it was, some crisps or something. And I think you have like a bottle of juice.
There was a bottle of water and some crisps. Were they trapped in a pub?
I don't know. It's just what Alicia had for herself and her child. I think it was a bottle of juice as well.
Oh, all right, fair enough.
So, you know, not a lot to survive on down here, but, you know, I guess it's just a shopping mall, so, you know, they weren't trapped in a section with food, so bad luck, I guess. They did at least have a bathroom, and they were very happy about that.
Did they have access to the disabled bathroom, though?
Well, considering the guy with the wheelchair was in it, I'm going to say yes.
Ah.
Do you reckon it was
only a disabled bathroom?
I think he mentioned it was the only disabled bathroom in the shopping mall, and is in the basement.
So, out of pure principle, should people who aren't disabled go in there? Even if they're trapped underground, because they're not supposed to.
I'm assuming they have both disabled stalls and regular stalls.
Oh, so the regular stalls were unlocked as well?
Yeah, it's, you know, one whole bathroom or water closet, as they call it. So, there's a couple different stalls in there.
You have to remember, I grew up in southern Spain as of like 10 years old until recently. The idea of disabled toilets are still one which Spain haven't fully got around to grasping at all. I have eaten also they are years behind on these things, right? I have eaten. I've been here like 10 years, so obviously I'm gonna have gone out quite a lot. But I must have eaten at like 100+ restaurants. I've only ever seen a menu with vegetarian options on it once. Doesn't happen otherwise. You want a vegetarian option? Well, you can fuck off to someone who cares then. That's pretty much their attitude over here. It's wonderful. It's not wonderful, it's really bad, just to clarify that, but it is amusing. Anyway, sorry, what were you saying about the game? I got on a thing about disabled people's toilets.
So yeah, moving on from all of that stuff, the actual game itself, each of the characters except Dave has their own route. So Eileen, she's an elderly lady who, growing up, she was from a conservative family that, you know, got her to marry young, and that kind of thing. And as the story goes on, you learn that she was actually, I don't know if she was an outright, you know, like completely lesbian, or if she was bi or something else, but either way, she wasn't
whether she was
straight.
A full-on lesbian, or maybe someone who only shaved their head and just let it go at that.
There's such a large spectrum of like what you can be, so I don't know if she was at least a lesbian or bi or something like that. So she, you know, obviously didn't really want to marry the guy, and she actually had a lover previous to that, and she tried to run away with her, but her family found her and forced her to get married. So
yeah,
you know, she never got to live the life she wanted.
And then she had to give all that up to go touring with the Dexy Midnight Runners as well.
Of course, that's the part that you find out next, yes. Or not really, at all. So yeah, that's her story. She's also involved in, at one point she admits to playing MMORPGs, which was a rather interesting twist as well.
Wait, what? There's an RPG?
Yeah, her and Gabriel, they play the same MMORPG together.
Oh, right, okay, sorry. I misunderstood what you mean. I thought there's an RPG in the game. I was like, wait,
no,
what?
not in the game itself, but yeah, there's like a fictional one they play together, and they're like, oh, you can add me to your clan after this is done. Like, all right. Just an interesting little fact.
And so then, they bond over the fact that they play the same game.
Yeah. And Gabriel, he's a young man in the wheelchair, so he's a bit cynical and sarcastic because a lot of the times people are kind of condescending to him due to his state. When he goes out with a girl, they're like, oh, well, you're lucky that that girl feels bad for you and is going out with you. And he's like, fuck off. Because, what else are you going to say to that, I guess?
You could sit there and explain to them very carefully that that is normally not the case.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if anything, fuck off is actually quite offensive to people who are fucked.
That is true. I didn't consider that.
And let's face it, in that situation, I'd consider most of them fucked. They are essentially buried amongst rubble.
Yeah, at this point, it seems that way, and, you're waiting for rescue, and it doesn't come. So, you get the chance to bond with these characters, and by the end of the game, you'll probably pick one of them to, spend some time with. So yeah, who else do we have to go through? There's Alicia, who's a single mother raising a child, and, if you talk to her, you learn that when she was young, she had, Hassan, and originally she was going to have him, she was going to have an abortion, but the doctors,
Whoa!
Yeah,
Whoa!
Yeah, we go into all sorts of territory in this game. Just, I guess we should have done a trigger warning, but oh well, we didn't.
Trigger warning, man! Christ, pregnancy! Jeez. Fuck me, you haven't been on Tumblr this week, have you? You have forgotten the sacred vows you have to abide by.
So anyway, she mentions that at that point when she was going to get an abortion, the doctors were going over her sexual history and saying that, well, due to her sexual history, she should have the child and take responsibility for her actions and that kind of thing. So
what?
That's why she never had the abortion.
Sure, a doctor can't say that, can he?
In America, they might. Yeah, I don't really know. I've never had to do it.
What? Surely it's none of their fucking business. If someone wants to.
It isn't, but...
A doctor is like, oh, well, sorry, we've decided that you're not worthy of one. They can do that in America?
I don't think they can outright deny it. I don't know. There might be some states where you can, but I think they
let's
can
face it,
pressure
it's
you.
probably Mississippi, isn't it?
Yeah, probably.
But yeah, enough of the politics. What else happened?
I mean, that's pretty much it. There's Hassan the child who you can talk to, but obviously there's no route for him because he's so young, like you're not going to pursue him. Well, I don't know. None of these are actually that romantic, but, since he's kind of tied in with Alicia, there's not much you can really do with him. But you can just talk with him and hang out with him, and, well, actually, talk to him is more like you talking to him since he doesn't talk back, so there's that.
How old is he?
I don't know, but he's a young child with autism, so he's a bit closed off from everyone else.
Oh, okay, that was good.
Yeah, when I was mentioning autism before, he's the one that has it.
Oh, right. And then, spoilers and all, but I presume you get out, you get rescued?
By the end of the game, yeah, you get out. Before that, though, you have a couple of incidents, because like I mentioned, your character, I don't know if I even mentioned this, I mentioned it prior, but your character has post-traumatic stress syndrome, or disorder, I don't really know how it's pronounced, it's PTSD, I don't know what it stands for exactly. Something with stress. Post-traumatic stress disorder,
I think, isn't it? We should know, considering we Googled this before the fucking show.
We did, but the most professional podcast round, I tell you folks.
Yeah, exactly. Hang on.
So she picked that up from the war she was involved in, which I don't really know if it's supposed to be any war in particular. It kind of seems a bit like the Iraq war, because they mentioned, our leaders told us they were weapons of mass destruction, and there weren't any, and so, I don't know, that's the kind of leap I jumped to as an American anyway, but I don't know if it's actually supposed to be or not. So she is all damaged inside because of what she had to do during the war and losing her friends and seeing so many people die. So during the course of the game, there's a couple of incidents that happen. At one point, she's in the bathroom. I guess you could say it's almost like a bit of a jump scare, and you go into the bathroom and all of a sudden like a figure appears in the mirror that's all bloodied and like a skeletal corpse. And then she smashes the mirror in and she has a bit of a panic attack and the others notice, and it turns out she was carrying a gun with her. And it turns out at this point in the game, you find out that she was actually planning to commit suicide the day the explosion took place. But of course, due to the explosion getting trapped and all, she never went through with the act.
I mean, from what I can tell, from what you're telling me, it seems to be a very sort of light-hearted, family-friendly sort of game.
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm trying to say through this whole thing. You know, there's nothing here that might offend you or trigger you in any way possible.
Yeah, exactly. What the PSDT and autism and wheelchair and suicide and bombs and guns... I mean, bar that, it's quite happy.
Yeah, not to mention there's a bad ending where you shoot one of the other survivors and then you shoot yourself in the head.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, there's that too.
There's that too. Yeah, I must confess, I didn't play this game just because... You know when you get sort of like half an hour into one and you're just like, this is not going to be for me. This game was not written with people like me in mind. It's because I got it in and and it was like, oh yeah, well, there are some little grammatical errors as well. Like her English is almost pretty much impeccable, but there are little things like, you know, doctor told me I had to make efforts. And it just sort of cuts off there. And it's just like, well, I can understand that sort of like in French, and heck, even when in my head I translate that to Spanish, it makes sense. But in English, not so much. It's make an effort. If you know what I mean? And yeah, and you sort of like go on about how, you know, your doctor told you this, and then you're in the mall before the explosion, and you're sitting there and wondering how different everyone is from you, and they can all laugh and do all these things, and then an explosion go off and rocks hit you and pass out. And it was at that moment I was like, this is one of those games, it's just not for me. I'm not going to play it, because it could be really good, I just won't appreciate it.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't bad. Like, the message by the end of the game, as you can tell from the title, talks about how words can wound, but they can also be used to heal. And I guess that's the message they want to send out with this game, is that you can interact with people and try to improve their lives instead of harming them. Ah,
see, I'm a knob. I'm an absolute knob when it comes to this, because you know the phrase, you know, sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I do that.
Yeah, I tend to be the same way myself.
Yeah, and obviously it's easier for some people like me to do that. You got to understand that, but
oh, definitely.
I mean, I grew up in a very, very religious part of southern Spain where I went to a school where a lot of people just hated anyone who was foreign. You get used to insults after a while. Like, you know, after the 100th time of being called Giri, for example, which is their sort of, like, offensive slang term for anyone English, you're just like, eh. It gets to the point where Giri just becomes an affectionate term. Different for other people, of course, but, yeah. Wounded by words. So, would you say it was a good game? Bad game? What are you thinking?
It was a nice experience, but I kind of felt like it was a bit... I don't know, I understand what they were trying to do with the game, but it just seemed like at one point it was just going through a checkbox of things we had to put in the game, if you know what I mean. Like, I'm not opposed to having them in the game, but there was just so much of it, and that's all it was, really. Like, it wasn't anything besides that.
Was there a black person in there?
Yes.
Oh.
Yeah, Alicia is black.
Oh, okay. I thought you were going to say no, and then I was like, oh, well, see, all the minorities aren't represented then, are they? But they are.
Yeah.
Was there anyone white in there at all?
Yes, Steve, the middle-class white male who offends everyone. That's what I was going to talk about.
Oh, okay.
I mean, the other characters were just, you know, like, white, like Agatha, Eileen, Gabriel, and yourself. You know, you're all white, but, you know, at the same time, you all have something else that's wrong with you, like PTSD.
And Dave had nothing wrong with him, therefore there could be nothing.
Well, let's also clarify that there's nothing wrong with having any of these things as well. You know, just so people don't get the wrong idea.
You know what I mean? Like, I think you can say handicap, right? That's not offensive.
Yeah, he just kind of your stereotypical white bloke who...
Yeah, exactly. What I was trying to say is when I say there's nothing wrong with him, like, someone with a wheelchair, there's clearly quite something wrong with his legs. Okay?
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with him as a person. He could be a fantastic person. He could be the best guy you'll ever fuck in your life, right? But there is something wrong with his legs. What I'm trying to ascertain is Dave isn't handicapped in any sort of way.
He's not handicapped. He doesn't have any, mental instabilities or whatever you want to call whatever PTSD is. Mental illnesses. To be fair, Aileen herself, she doesn't have anything wrong with her. She's just gay, which is anything problematic.
No, that's not.
And Alicia, she's just black. So what can you say about that? Black and poor, raising an autistic child.
I think the less I say about that, the better.
Okay, yeah, it's probably best we just move on then, isn't it?
Well, Dave strikes me as the kind of person who drive a BMW.
He might. I don't know. I think he's more of a... Yeah, who knows? Like,
a long time ago, I was sitting at lunch having a few pints with a colleague of mine. And he was trying to put forward that not all BMW drivers are wankers. It's just a stereotype. They're actually all really nice people. I went, no, they're not. They're pretty much all wankers. And as we said that, I shit you not, 2 minutes later... some guy in his sort of like big 4x4 BMW, right, drove down this road, parked straight in front of someone's drive, got out, he had these sort of like dark blue aviators on, and like a shirt but with the sleeves slightly rolled up, in jeans, and then just started to swagger off. And, into our bar. I was just like, yeah, see, that is the kind of person who's a BMW driver. That's the kind of person I think Dave is. He doesn't realise it, but he's probably a bit of a penis.
I think that's what they say in the game pretty much as well, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So basically all we've learned from this game is that all white male people are indeed evil.
Clearly, and we're perfect examples of that as well, I suppose.
Yeah, exactly. You've been mocking this whole far. I've been nothing but nice about this game.
Of course you have. Totally.
Exactly. So what we can learn from this again, Patrick, is actually a racist.
Yes.
That was something we
didn't know.
Are
white after all.
We are white. That is how this works. It's not our fault. There are rules. We just abide by them. Right. Should we move on to our next game? I think we need to, don't we?
Yeah, definitely. It's been time.
Yeah, we're doing this thing again where I didn't think the show was going to be that long, and then before I know it, we're already quite long into the show. And we spent the last 15 minutes talking about disability. So, next game, Tunnel Vision. It's by Nom Nom Nami. It's a questionable name if you want, any sort of credibility.
Aren't we jumping ahead in order? Or did you change that up at the last moment?
I'm looking at my own notes, not the proper one.
All right, Chris.
Yeah, you're right. I'm supposed to be talking about another game.
2 weeks completely. In a row. This is quite the professional podcast we have, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. Now, put on your serious face. Mess up your moustache quickly, because that is a sign of intelligence.
Mm-hmm.
Pretend that never happened. So,
of course.
The next game I'm going to tell you about, and I should really stick to our doc as opposed to my notes, is Abstract Cataract. Now, we were originally going to play Coming Out on Top, but I normally leave the games to play quite late, and I do that so they're still fresh in the mind when I'm talking about them. I don't want to play something 2 weeks ago and then be like, right, you play as Thingy, and I think he did this thing about this thing, because that's pointless. So, yeah, I realised that Coming Out on Top was a demo, and you had to pay for the game, which is normally fine. I'd just send an email to the developer going, blah, 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 we're going to speak about this, blah, 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 can we have 2 review copies, please? Areno. But I only realised today, on the same day we're recording this. So I went, oh, well, fuck. So I went off. I was like, right, okay. I want to play a game, but I I don't want to deliberately play a shit one, and I don't want to deliberately play one I think is good. So I'm going to go to the first release of this year, or what's denoted as the first release of this year, and play that. And yeah, it turned out to be Abstract Cataract. It's by Acid Passion. Now, I mean, if that isn't the name of a drug user, I have no idea what is. That has to be, right? But, yeah.
I would imagine.
Yeah, exactly. It has to be. But yeah, I went to the visual novel, and there's that bad sign of all the Ren'Py defaults, no custom anything. Right, just ugh. Now, I must admit, I didn't get through all of this game, and as I explain, you'll probably understand why. You're not blind, but you just tell everyone you are, bar 2 people. Okay? Mm-hmm. One of the people I think you seemingly live with, but you don't even know his real name. Such is the trust between you two. Insane. But yeah, basically, because you're not blind, but you can't see properly, you see everything weirdly, and basically that's an excuse to have just the most piss-poor Microsoft Paint sort of art ever. You know,
wow.
there's squiggly lines where someone couldn't even be bothered to do a straight one with the tool they provide for you in MS Paint. You know, it's like squiggly. Everything is MS Paint. It's drawn just... Oh, it's awful. So, you and this person, I think he's called Moose. I can't remember what my name is. Let's just call him Dave for ease's sake. So you and Dave, you're making a game. And at the end of the day, he's like, right, we need to go and eat out because I'm famished. What are you going to eat? And I went, it was pizza, tacos. Yes, I'm aware I say tacos like a posh wanker from England. And I think the other one was burgers? Or chicken. One of the two. I chose tacos. And he went, oh no, I called a pizza because it's easier anyway. And regardless of what option you choose, he just goes with pizza. I'm like, oh good, okay. It's one of those games. It's the illusion of choice, is it? So, you go on to this place, all with this terrible art, and you buy a pizza. I think he says it's like $15.60 or something. And I was like, excuse me, how much? $15.60 for a pizza. Is this normal? Hey, Patrick, when was the last time you visited a pizza place?
Not very often, or I don't really get a full pizza, so,
How much is the average pizza? Do you know, in America, where you are?
For a full pizza, I couldn't imagine it being $15. I don't know offhand, though, how much it would be.
Yeah, $15 just seems insanely overpriced. Sorry, I was going to reveal where you were there for a second, and then I was like, hang on a minute, you probably won't appreciate me even revealing the state.
That'd be fine. I think people probably know that already. I might mention it at some point, but it doesn't really matter. I think most pizzas might go for like $7 to $8 if I had to take a guess, but I don't really know.
Yeah, exactly. In Spain, it's sort of like slowly rising, and in France as well. Like in some places, it will be like €10, which is like $13, where some places you can properly go to, and they're like €7, which is just below like $10. And where you are in Alabama. Now that you don't mind me saying it out loud, apparently.
That's fine. I know. You can probably tell from my accent.
Yeah, exactly. Your really southern, deep accent. I mean, what we do know is that obviously Patrick plays a lot of games with his girlfriend. What he's never told you is that's actually his sister as well. That is a true fact. I haven't made that up. But yeah, anyway, so you go on and hand over this money for this incredibly expensive pizza. Of what I mean, I imagine it must have like bull semen or something in it for it to be that expensive. So it's like $100 odd for a litre. It's quite expensive. And as you're walking back to your place, someone demands your pizza, and they're very poorly drawn. They've got like a cross on their shirt with a STFU written on it, which I'm reliably told means shut the fridge up, right?
Mm-hmm. Of course.
Yeah, because you can't let the cold out. And he demands it. I chose to run, and then I slip over. So regardless, whatever. he has to take the pizza from you. And I went to the bio then very quickly, because I don't like reading bios. I don't like spoilers of any kind before I get into a game. And it said it was created in a jam. And I went, oh, okay, so it's really short. So then I clicked back onto the window, and on this masterpiece, I accidentally clicked the top right-hand corner of the window, which was X. And then I accidentally clicked on the yes option, because it came up with a question.
It's quite a series of accidents.
Yeah, it's terrible. I felt awful. And, yeah, I hit yes to the answer. And then apparently it was still on my desktop, so I was like, alright, I better reopen it. But then I accidentally right-clicked instead of left-clicked. And I accidentally clicked on delete. And I was like, oh, no, I don't want to do that. So I pressed enter, presuming it would naturally be on no, but it was actually on yes. So then it was in my recycling bin. And then I deleted everything on my recycling bin accidentally as well. Then I took my hard drive out with the biggest sledgehammer ever, and I accidentally trod on it with my sledgehammer coming down from about 6 feet or so. But yeah, terrible group of accidents to happen together. But I didn't have to play it, so that was a positive.
There's a silver lining.
Yeah. What I actually mean is this game's incredible. I'm not sure why you're not playing it, because it's that good. It's not. It's
truly some of the greatest art you'll find.
Yeah, it made me want to cry slightly. It really wasn't good at all. You know, one of those games where you just sit there and go, no, no. It's not even like this game isn't for me. I just went, no, it's not happening. So yeah, I tried to venture, tried to just play a random game. Turned out it was terrible.
So is this what seeing what the Cataract really looks like, do you think?
Yeah. I imagine that everything you see from then on looks like badly drawn MS Paint.
Well, that's what you have to look forward to when you're getting older.
Yeah. That is what old people don't tell you. It's why they're so bitter all the time. Like, God, I used to be able to look up porn online. It was incredible. But now, hit the age of 80, and all I can see is really bad MS Paint drawings. It's why they can't get hard all the time as well, because there's just nothing there anymore. It's just a badly drawn penis on themselves. Stop me talking. I'm just going to keep talking.
Right, so moving on. The next game that we played as opposed to this one, I didn't try to seek out something that... I don't know how you start out saying you're trying to look for something decent and then you came into this. What happened there exactly?
I said I wasn't trying to look for something which I thought was good, and I wasn't trying to look for something that I actively thought was bad. I just wanted a random factor, but as opposed to just... Because I find all these via VNDB. That website of the rating system which doesn't work properly. Everything is a 6.
Yeah, we were talking about this before.
Yeah, exactly. They do it like the Bayesian rating, but basically it means that the rating doesn't work properly.
Yeah, it's a bit buggy, but
yeah, it takes data into account, but doesn't.
And then disregards it.
Yeah,
pretty much.
Yeah, it takes data into account. You got
2 votes of a 2, it's a 6.
Yeah, exactly. It takes data into account and then goes, yep, that's definitely 2 2s. Anyway, put the 6 back, and then just moves on. But that's why I just wanted a completely random visual novel. And if you click random visual novel in VNDB, chances are you're just going to get a porn game, which is completely in Japanese. So I couldn't click on that. That's how I came across this. You, however, came across the next game, Valentine's Rush.
Yeah, by not exactly looking for anything decent.
Yeah, by actively picking out. So every time someone says that I'm the evil one, and that I have no feelings, he's the one who deliberately wanted to pick on a game.
I'm not even going to say I'm picking on it, or maybe I really like this one. What do you think about that, Chris? Well, let's just get into the game itself.
I'd say if you do, you're a fucking moron. I mean, that might be a slight spoiler alert as to what I think, but you never know. Have you got it written down who it's by?
Valentine's Rush? Let's see. I don't have it written down, but I have the VNDB page. So it's
by Sonorous Gem. I thought sonorous as in sound.
I guess, yeah.
So it's a gem that emits sounds.
Because this game has awesome, an awesome soundtrack, which totally isn't reused from anything else. With free music, or that kind of thing. Royalty free, I guess.
Was it this game I booted up and it had the same... Oh, no, that's
it's the same as ChrisTenarium 2, I think.
No. I was thinking of a game which had the same music as Alone's, but that's the next one we're going to be covering. Okay. Yeah, no, this one still had... music my notes are music I've heard before, so presuming Kevin MacLeod.
Yeah, most likely.
It's also got Ren'Py defaults and an 800 by 600 window. When you know someone cannot be fucked enough to even make it 720p, and it's an 800 by 600, you know that a lot of care has not gone into this game.
I wouldn't have guessed. Not in the slightest.
And for people asking what's wrong with an 800 by... Sorry, Patrick. With people asking what's wrong with an 800 by 600 window, it's because it's not 2005 anymore.
Yeah, I have to say on top of that, I think some of the art was upscaled as well because it appeared blurry on this 800 by 600 screen.
Oh, Jesus. But yeah, it's the same reason we don't use VCR anymore. It's because better quality has been made. Like, yeah. you draw art really big, and then you scale it down. That's just a thing. You don't start really practice. Small.
Yeah. Not an artist myself, but I would assume. So, not Abstract, Valentine's Rush. This is a game where you start off as this kid in high school named Kenny, who is, in class, and he's talking to his best friend Jeremy, and they're talking about a World of Warcraft clone they call Poop, which is really mature. Did you play through this whole thing, Chris? Because I'd be seriously surprised if you did.
Did I? Fuck. No. I got further than I did with the other games, but that's because I feel I was in a particularly good mood. When I started playing this, I was playing Heroes of the Storm and doing really well. I was really doing well. And then I played this, and it just slowly went downhill.
Yeah, so while you're talking with your friend in class, you mentioned that, there's this girl named Kina, who's, your crush, but, you can never muster up the courage to speak to her, that kind of thing. There's like an awkward high school boy. But you go home that day from school, and once you get home, you find out that a girl is knocking on your door, and it's an attractive-looking girl, I guess. I can't remember if the art really reflected that, but she's supposed to be attractive.
The art was very good. There was an Uncle Mugen background to begin with, and then everything else was just a photo.
It was a photo.
Not even a filter. It was just a photo.
Straight photo.
Straight up photo.
So this girl comes into your home and she says, I'm going to be living here now. And you're like, what's going on? And she also starts hugging you, and then she talks about how cute you look. And very quickly she says that she wants to get into a relationship with you. And your character's like, what's going on here? I have no idea. So you could choose a few different options. Mostly it consists of something like, or like, what's going on here? Basically nothing very committing to anything. But eventually you get to a second option where you can admit to having a crush on a girl. You can either say that it's her, in which you're now on her path, or you can say it's somebody else, in which case you get on Kina's path. So either way, you end up in a relationship with the girl who came to visit, and you find out that her name is Paige, and she used to live in your neighborhood, but then she moved to France for
which she doesn't tell you for the entirety of her going into your house and telling that she's going to move in.
Yeah, she wants you to guess.
Yeah.
Which is completely random, but your mom eventually shows up and tells you.
Being the only person in home, and you clearly don't know she's going to move in, she still doesn't tell you who it is.
Yeah, it's... The game doesn't make the most sense, but you might have gotten that impression already from some of our reactions to it. So if you choose to be on her path, or actually, regardless of whether you choose to be on her path or not, she ends up in a relationship with you, and she acts like your girlfriend. She demands you get things for her. At one point you have to go out and get her pizza, and, she stays at home and just fiddles around with whatever the hell she's doing.
Dicks around.
Yeah, that kind of thing. So eventually you meet Kina again at the library, and if you're on her path, you can choose some options which, get you more involved with her. But either way, you find out that there's this other character named Jay. And at first you don't know who Jay is. He just shows up and starts belittling you for doing extra credit at the library, which it's really stupid because it's just like some kind of like summer reading program, or I don't even think it's summer. I don't really know what it's related to. It's some kind of reading program where you're reading for extra credit. And what happens from there? Jay like makes fun of you, and eventually you find out that Jay is Kina's cousin. And it's funny because if you are in Kina's path, at first you think that he's, you know, pursuing her, but since it's her cousin, you know, obviously that's not the case. There's no incest in this game, at least.
How can you be so
might
sure of
disappoint
that?
some of you. How can I be sure of that? Well, as far as I can tell, no one was related. But who knows?
It might be secret. Someone might have changed their name.
There might be some fanfic out there written for this game. I highly doubt that, but
yeah, I think you're being very generous.
But either way, you know, either girl you end up with, it doesn't really matter. The same kind of thing happens. You meet them at the pizza place. You have pizza with them, and then you talk about your future. And there's a good ending and a bad ending. I think the whole good ending, bad thing is dependent on whether or not you run to the pizza place or if you walk. If you run there, you show you're committed and you end up in a long-term relationship. If you walk there, I think you just get the normal ending.
Yeah, that can fuck right off. Someone
Yeah.
is taking advantage of you, but if you're not showing commitment to her taking advantage of you, then clearly you're just not husband material.
Yeah. And there's also some subplot involving Jay and his long-lost father, who just happens to be a patron of the library, which I don't really know why that's in the game, but it's in there. And there's also this other thing where you find out that Jay is actually Paige's ex-boyfriend, and they just happen to move to the same town. So, yeah.
I'm not going to say I saw that coming, but I didn't even get to the point where I was playing with Jay, and even as you explained him, I was like, yeah, I know what's going to happen here.
Yeah, it's pretty predictable. Nothing really unexpected happened. Like, they bring up the poop thing a couple times, which is just stupid. I don't really know why they had to put that in the game, but I guess maybe they want to get some laughs out of someone who...
Because hilarious fart jokes.
Yeah, pretty much.
Basically. This guy, I mean, I'm going to say like, a couple of things you didn't touch upon. Basically, I imagine this is a perfect, normal case of a writer projecting themselves into a character, into a game, where he can get God knows how many girlfriends, and his parents are really hard on him. Like, he bangs on about that in the first half an hour quite a lot. Mm-hmm. Oh, well, my parents are disappointed in me because I'm not all they expected me to be. And then, like, they're having dinner and he just forgets about it. And he's like, God, Mum always does such the greatest cooking. Gee whiz, thanks, Mum. This is just some 15-year-old's power fantasy, isn't it?
Yeah, pretty much. I should also say it's really funny also how accepting your mom is of the fact that you just start randomly going out with this girl who's living with you as well. She's like, oh, well, you need a girlfriend anyway.
Yeah. Why not start with someone you haven't seen for several years, but have suddenly
and is living
met?
under the same roof as you.
Yeah, Christ. Imagine that. Like, hi, I have a girlfriend, and she's going to move in with me, and we're, like, you know, going to do shit in our room behind a locked door. Don't mind us.
Most mothers are fine with this.
Yeah, most mothers are fine with this, as long as you're a boy. If you're a girl, you can fuck off. It's not going to happen. Scary. If you're a guy, though, it's fine. You can do that kind of stuff. That's how that works. But yeah.
Is there anything else you want to say about this one?
I was going to say, I take it you didn't really like it.
No, I didn't really like it. It was pretty bland. The art wasn't very nice to look at. Either the backgrounds or the sprites. The sprites were kind of low resolution, and...
The sprites were very average, I'd say. I wouldn't say they're particularly bad. They're average. They had that normal problem where their eyebrows were over their fringe. And it's like, look, I know eyebrows help sort of shape a character's face and emotion, but if you want that, don't give them a fringe. Like, because an eyebrow is always behind the fringe. I have eyebrows. I've tested this in the mirror. That your eyebrows don't go over your hair. That's not how that works. I'm just reading through the rest of my notes. I don't think I have anything else to say. Oh yeah, and Paige, the girl, she's like one of these people who's like, I'm so random and I do all of these things because I'm so carefree. No one's like that. It's all like it's exaggerated to holy hell. That is really annoying.
Yeah, I think you pretty much hit it on the head when you said it's a power fantasy which someone wants to live through, you know?
Yeah.
There's this girl who's totally random and into making out with you at random moments, and she's all over you for no reason just because you're there.
Yeah, exactly. It's just... Yeah. Shall we move on to our next game?
Mm-hmm. So the next game that we played, and this was one that Chris initially brought up because I think you got, was it an email or a message from the dev?
Yeah, so basically what was so weird about this is that, I hate using this word, but the EVN community, I don't like using the word community because community is broad. Community means nothing, right? Saying community is just way too vague. There are certain groups of friends within the EVN sort of scene. But in EVNs in general, no one markets their game that way. They just hope that word of mouth will sort of get around, and then the ones that get on Steam don't need word of mouth anymore. This guy did. He like physically sent me an email and went, "Hey, do you want to play my game?" And I was like, "Sure. I mean, you're either deluded or it's really good." It's like no one else sends out emails. Which was just, yeah, really... It just took me by surprise. And the whole time I've been doing YouTube, I've been emailed 2 games. One I never got round to playing, and this is the second one. Everything else I've sought out myself. So that just gives you an idea as to how rare this is, considering I've been doing it for, what, 3 years? 2.5? Something like that. Really, really long time. It's also by Fervent Studios, and I think it's the first game that we're playing today, which has a custom GUI. All the ones before haven't, right? Oh no, Wounded by Words did.
Yeah, I think, yeah.
Yeah, alright, well, yeah, 50% now. 50%, but yeah, go on. Tell us the wonders of Who is Mike.
Right, so Who is Mike? I actually didn't mind this one. It starts off with you waking up in your room, and your vision's kind of blurry at first because you're supposed to wear glasses and your glasses have fallen off because for whatever happened before you were... I guess you were knocked out by something. And then when you come to, you feel the presence of someone else in the room. And then you notice them approaching. And I think they're coming at you with a bat in their hand. And you're kind of like, whoa. Yeah, you're like, whoa, easy there. Don't approach me. You know, you're trying to ward them off and tell them that you're not there to do any harm. At that point, you manage to negotiate successfully. And you get your glasses back. After you put your glasses on, you see that the person that you're talking to looks just like you. In fact, he is an other you. And depending on how the game goes, there's a couple interesting things about this. So you talk with this guy for a bit about, you know, who he is, and obviously at first you're nervous, and he says, well, I'm trusting you, you have to trust me. And can I go along with that for a bit? Eventually he says that you should probably hide somewhere because he doesn't want Sarah to find you. And Sarah is
your girlfriend.
Your living girlfriend, yeah. So you can either here choose to agree with his logic and leave the place for now, or you can decide to stay there, which is kind of the obvious choice. I decided to stay. If you do leave at this point, it leads to a bad ending, but I'm not going to say exactly what it leads to just yet. So what you find out from all this is that shortly afterwards, Sarah comes down, and then she encounters the both of you, and she freaks out for a bit, but you manage to convince her to calm down, and you determine that one of you is going to have to prove yourself as the real Mike, and the other is going to be the fake Mike. You know, you don't know what's happened, you're just trying to determine right now who's supposed to be the real one. So she asks you a couple of different questions about your past and, you know, things that the real Mike would say, but you guys both seem to have the same memories, so it doesn't really do a lot of good. These are questions ranging from stuff like, what's your brother's name, or, you know, what's his nickname, to, what do you think about our neighbor? Do you think she's attractive? And, you know, at least there's some awkward scenarios. Or, like, what do you think about my cooking? And you can choose what to say, and it has an effect on whether she believes you or not. You can either be... And a lot of the times, the choices you have are just truthful, or, I think it's...
Yeah, tell the truth or tell a lie.
Yeah, that's what it is. So it's not always clear exactly what you'll be saying, which I found to be kind of annoying at times. Eventually you get this one choice where you can answered truthfully or not whether you are the real Mike. And the first time I just answered truthfully, I didn't really think about much of this choice. And what ended up happening afterwards was she started questioning the other Mike about one of the statements he made. And particularly I think it was about his glasses that he had. Because he was wearing a different pair of glasses, or it was his old pair of glasses. I'm not sure. It was one or the other. And so you find out that he used a different pair of glasses, and that kind of gave away to her that he was the fake Mike. Now, having been revealed as the fake Mike, he actually reveals that he is a demon who comes along, impersonates people, and then slowly steals their memories and their entire being. And he kind of feeds off of that.
Wait, hang on. He just sort of readily admits that?
Yeah, after she calls him out as the fake one, he comes
Alright,
around
you
and
got
admits
me.
that.
I'm wearing my old glasses. You got me. Look. I'm not going to
you
lie,
didn't get that
I
far
am a
into this one.
demon, and unfortunately, you're probably going to die.
Yeah, pretty much. So there's a bit of a struggle, and you get knocked out, and when you come to, you find that Sarah's been locked behind one of the doors. And after that point, another Sarah approaches you, saying that she's the real one. And now it's up to you to determine which is the real Sarah. So this is where the game fakes you out. You get a choice to either shoot or not shoot the approaching Sarah. If you shoot, you get a bad ending. If you don't shoot, you also get a bad ending. If, however, you choose to do nothing for a few seconds, you suddenly get the option to question her. And this is where you get to ask a couple of different questions, and then the shoot, don't shoot scenario pops up again, also with an option to not shoot and ask further questions. Eventually, the Sarah that's approaching you says something which kind of gives away that she is the fake Sarah, and at this point you can shoot her, and you'll get the good ending.
Right. I didn't get that far.
How far did you get into this? I'm curious.
I had an inkling that I didn't get through far because I was online on a forum, and someone asked how long is the average route for this game. I might play it, and someone replied with yeah, about 40 minutes. I stood there and went, what? I know I might read slightly quicker than the average person, but it took me like 10-15. So I had an inkling I hadn't got everything, but the first time I did what you said, which is I was just like, oh fuck it, I'll just leave, and then I died.
Yeah, that's what happens. You just die because it sucks your soul out entirely.
Second time Sarah doubted me, I died. And the third time, she doubted the other Mike, and he died.
Oh, okay.
And yeah, that happened. Each time. And I was just like, I've got 3 different... Is this it? Because I heard JP was raving about this game, which I think... I was speaking to a developer. See, the way I say I was speaking to a developer, it must sound like I know hundreds. No, it's just the same guy. Right? It's the same guy. I'm not that popular, don't you worry. But he... I forgot what I was saying. Well done, me. I've completely lost where I was. What was I talking about, Patrick?
You're going about how you died it a few times, and
Died it.
I don't know where you're going with this.
And yeah, I just kind of thought this is. I've gone through 3 different endings, and I was speaking to Devet, and he said, yeah, that I'm contractually obliged to hate this game now that JP likes it. That's just a rule. Right, I have to dislike what he likes, he has to dislike what I like. That's just the thing. And I went through, I think I either got 3 or 4 different endings, and they all ended there. I was like, there has to be more to this, doesn't there? This is just incomplete. Because they said, oh yeah, well, we're not going to end this on a 20 questions thing. Also, they appear to jump on the idea that there's no other possible way that there could be 2 different mics, like one of them could be an imposter. Like, you know, fucking makeup. Or anything like that. They completely dismiss that. Just like that. There's no good reason to dismiss it so quickly. But they do. And they just jump into... Literally, within like 30 seconds, they're like, oh, well, it must be just an abnormality or something. Well, why are we suddenly discussing whether I'm the real Mike or not? This seems like some jump from where we were. And then we're like, okay, yeah, look. We're not going to resolve this in 20 questions. It's much more complicated than that. And then they resolve it within like 5. It's like when you said we're not going to resolve it in 20 questions, I thought you meant this is going to go on to be something far bigger. Not, oh no, we're not going to do it in 20. We're going to do it in like 5. That's like something that complicated. And you're like, oh, well, yeah, sure, we can do it quickly. Why not? And yeah, I think I might need to get to the second and third act to appreciate the game more, but I only got, 3 seemingly short endings each time.
Yeah, it'd probably help if you played the rest of it.
Yeah. And I just thought that even during the first act, it seemed like their logic wasn't completely on, like they just jumped to a conclusion very quickly and were just sold on that idea. Also, Sarah completely freaks out when she sees both of you for the first time. And then within like 20 seconds, she's fine. She's just like with this idea as well that, oh yeah, well, it must be 2 mics. It's not a prank or anything. It's not a joke. It has to be. The only possible solution is one of you is fake. What? Really?
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel I might go back and do it at some point.
Yeah, and the last bit that I want to say about this game before we got a bit sidetracked was, so there's one other split that happens in this game in addition to that, and that's going back to when I mentioned there was a choice where you get to answer truthfully or not whether you were the true Mike. So if you say you're the false Mike, what happens is you actually end up being the imposter. You end up being the demon.
Yeah, that's dumb.
And, you know, it goes on for a bit, and there you have a few different choices, where you can either, like, attack them or leave if they believe you're the false Mike. And if they believe that you're the true Mike and you're the false Mike, then she shoots the true Mike, like you mentioned.
What I don't like about sort of, like, so many multiple endings is that seemingly the universe just changes completely.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
Depending on like a few words you say. Area X had this rather infamous moment of like the world is fine, but if you kiss this specific guy, then you're fucked and you have to sacrifice yourself to save the world. What the fuck happened to all the other times then? What,
it doesn't make a lot of sense.
That guy's lips was untouched by my lips and suddenly it's fine. You can't alter the world randomly like that. Like, because that's not what that's what like I said before that I didn't like about Taradin. What I didn't like about Taradin, it wasn't, oh yeah, well you've gone on some massive journey and the girl has learned all the way through. No, because it always starts at the same point. So it's always the same universe. All that game did was show how fickle she was. All she has to hear is a few words beforehand, and then she's like, oh, actually, this is really bad and terrible, and everything I've been brought up to believe in is actually a lie. It just means she was fickle. So as soon as you start changing the universe, depending on what route you're in, that's almost never good, can it? I cannot think of an example where that could be good.
Yeah, I thought it was weird in this game as well.
Unless obviously like one of the two routes is like, on one route you can scour the sky and then the rest you can leave alone. Obviously, you know, it's going to be different there, but you being the demon makes no sense. Like, absolutely no sense.
Yeah, I mean, because at the beginning of the game, what are you supposed to be? It's all determined on that one choice. You're kind of like this Schrodinger's cat of this visual novel. You're both are, and at the same time are not the real Mike. And it's all just dependent on this choice you make afterwards, which I don't know.
Yeah, which is dumb, because if you're sticking on one storyline or one universe, one of you has to be the demon all the time. One of you can't be the demon all the time. Like, you can't have sometimes, oh yeah, well sometimes this guy's the demon, and sometimes the other guy's the demon. Because it makes no sense if both of them are demons. But
yeah, but that's all I have to say about that.
Yeah, grumble, I guess. So
to be honest, I really didn't mind it too much, other than that point kind of bothered me.
Yeah, I mean, one thing I will say is the art very good. This is the game I wanted to say earlier as well. Their dramatic music at the start was the music I've been hearing for God knows how long from Aloners. There's this, I presume it's Kevin MacLeod, because it's always Kevin MacLeod. But it's like, I'm not going to hum it, but I've been playing Aloners now for quite some time, for like over a month. I only finished it yesterday. And no, I didn't. I finished it this morning, sorry. And,
congratulations.
Yeah. And yeah, that kind of cut the atmosphere to a certain extent. Just because I was like, no, I'm not listening to this anymore. I don't think it's one of the best tracks, although that could be just because I listen to it so fucking much. So I just started sticking on other things. I think I was listening for John Mayer for quite a while. Not the former English Prime Minister, an artist. And yeah, I mean, that may have cut the atmosphere a little bit. To be fair, I mean, you know, despite me saying all this, I did find it alright. I just assumed that I was clearly missing something, which is why I went online to see how long each path was, because Patrick, you weren't around at this point. This was like at, what, 10 my time, which is like 4 a.m. in the fucking morning for you.
Yeah.
Like, don't get me wrong, I know you're hardworking and diligent. I don't think you're that hardworking and diligent. 4 a.m. up there. Right, hang on. I'll stay up just in case anyone says something to me on Skype. No. So yeah, Googled it and that came up. So yeah, I think it was all right, but what you said about you being the demon, there is no other word for it. It's silly.
Yeah,
it's
definitely.
Now. Should we move on to the next game now?
Let's do.
Now, that game I mentioned earlier, I'm about to talk about it now. See? Tunnel Vision by Nom Nom Nami. As I said before, if you want some sort of credible name, that's not the name to go for. It's Renpai Defaults. Now, this developer did a game called Romance Detective. Did you ever play that?
I think you recommended it, but I never got around to playing it, no.
Okay. Basically, it's this comedy sort of visual novel about a romance detective. You know, everything can be solved with love. Right? The game is fully aware of how silly it is. Romance Detective is treated as, oh yeah, don't worry, she knows what she's doing. But the game still treats it as being a bit of a stupid idea. Right? It's very self-aware of what's going on. It's sitting there and going, look, don't worry, we realise just as you do how ridiculous this looks. This game doesn't. This game is stupid and isn't self-aware. First of all, purely subjective. Could not be more subjective, I tried, but the art, it's this sort of silly Japanese chibi cute art style. You know, like, everyone constantly has sparkly bright eyes, like someone's giving them brain damage as they were looking at a cake and they've just been looking like that ever since, right? That kind of look. And, I don't know how to explain it, but when I'm angry, I just want to sort of like just flex my muscles, my like biceps in my arms slightly. Just go, angry. And then I'm fine. This is what this art does to me. It drives me up the fucking wall. Right? I just see it and go, why? What's wrong with something which just looks normal? I get that occasionally you have to like exaggerate things to a certain effect, but someone's just got like sparkles in their eyes and everyone's looking like they're completely in love with each other. They're just, I just wanted to smash my head against a fan. Purely subjective, though. So we play as Magnolia, and we've come along to a cave to take pictures of a ghost, because the person we've come along with is our friend called Lottie. And Lottie doesn't really hang out with us. She's more sort of using us, but we really love Lottie and are in love with Lottie. So we go along. Now, early on in this game, you sort of piss around for a while and you put on your stupid fucking I'm dumb and have an IQ of 3 face, and then you fall down a hole and sprain your ankle, unsurprisingly. And we find a ghost once Lottie walks off, to try and find a way down. And you speak to a ghost, and this ghost says, she approaches you and she's like, oh, well, yeah, I'm not too very well versed. I've only been, I've been down here for 200 years, so you can just speak and see where we get. Now, understand that different characters need to have different ways of speaking in order to distinguish their personalities. Right? I did English at school. It's basic, right? You need to do that. And they do it in this game. However, their personalities also change several times. So this ghost is called Asun. And there's a moment where you go in there and you're speaking like a fucking knob. Right? You're saying stuff like, yeah, great, and walking into rooms shouting, Asun! And saying stuff like, oh, you know, which made everyone super mad. The kind of person who says super mad is the kind of person who looks at their phone all the time, texting, regardless of how many friends they're with. Like, that kind of just person you want to punch. Like, you're trying to speak to them and they're just on their phone texting. And before anyone says, oh, well, it just might be a thing about you, Tenarium, ha ha ha, just trying to ignore you whilst on their phone. No, I mean the kind of person who's always on their phone. Even with their boyfriend, who she's supposedly really happy with, just always sitting there on their phone. Yeah, I agree. Right? That's the kind of thing that one says. But she randomly just sort of switches sometimes and uses stuff like, oh yeah, well they're very overbearing. What the fuck? That's not a word you'd say. Why are you suddenly going all serious despite acting like a complete knob throughout of this and changing your way of speaking? It's grumble. But the ghost then starts to tell you a story. Well, doesn't start to tell you. She puts her hand on your forehead and starts to show you a story. All of this is kinetic, by the way. Just a fun fact for you. Kinetic, as in no choices. Because, fuck you. You're not worthy. You will read my story and you will like it. But this ghost used to be a princess. And she was trying to solve a war with with another princess who looks incredibly like you do now. She looks incredibly like you do now because it's easier to reuse art assets than create a different sprite. Right? And there was these two wars between these two lands, and they're fighting over like gems or something. And you two keep meeting despite being from opposing factions. And like there was marriage or something, but then that didn't quite go ahead, and then soldiers come in once, and then soldiers start fighting in the cave, and then the tunnel collapses, and then Sun was in it and dies. Then her mate, who's called Tonna, I think, we then tell the ghost, oh yeah, well actually Tonna was a great queen who lived to rule on for God knows how many years. And the ghost is like, oh well, I can finally leave now. Back to the old place. But I'm actually going to stick around and help you find your mate who's supposed to come here. And then your mate arrives, and then the ghost disappears. Because that's all it needed to do on this LAN. And then the game ends with you leaving the cave, having wondered whether you've caught anything of the ghost or not on the camera. Then you can go back, because that's the end. That's all there is to it. Okay? I'm saving you from playing this, because it's not very good. So, yeah, and once you've ended, you can go back and you can play as Lottie in her point of view. Now, Patrick, I would like you to ask me, did I go and play as Lottie in her point of view?
Well, I could take a guess, but Chris, did you go and play as Lottie in her point of view?
No, I didn't. I did not at all. Yeah, I know. I hate it when people do this. Like, oh, you have to replay several times to understand the true story. I couldn't give a fuck. I
could summarize it really quick if you want me to.
Hang on a second. You can. Give me a second. Because you probably played it. I didn't. Right? But
yeah.
Basically, my main point always against this kind of thing is that if your first story is really dull, I'm not going to go back and play a second one. I'll very rarely go back and play a second one of anything. The games that I've done several parts of, Roommates, Magical Diary, In the Middle of a Princess of Ruin 1, Cinders. That's it. Very rarely am I going to go back and actually play another one. And this, I just didn't feel any inclination to do so whatsoever. So yeah, go on. Lottie takes a very long time to come down and eventually find her way through. Please enlighten us as to what happened with Lottie while she was searching.
Lottie's story doesn't actually tell you the story of Lottie going searching for you. It tells the story of Lottie as a young child going into the caves to prove how brave she was, getting lost, and then Asun leading her out of the caves. And that's about it. Then you cut to the future when she goes running looking for Magnolia. It doesn't really show her looking for Magnolia, it just shows her finding Magnolia, and then seeing the ghost off and being like, oh, bye Asun. That's it.
Do you get, suppose, anyone else's point of view?
Nope, I think that's it after it.
That's it.
Yep.
Right. Something I've learnt from playing Hearthstone. Right. Hearthstone is a card game. This is my clever analogy that I thought up with the developer. See, if I keep saying with the developer, people are going to think I'm popular and not realise this is the same one. Is that every time you build a deck in this card game, you always have to sit there and ask yourself, what is this deck doing? What do I want it to do? What's it doing? It's also the same with that story. Where am I going? What am I doing with this? This game didn't do that. This game just sort of shut out a story and went, there we are. Like, it's very, very loosely put together. And it's not very good. At no point did it sit there and just ask, what am I doing? What am I doing well? What am I trying to do? And did you feel that?
I didn't really feel too upset about it, but it just, all it was a quick story, like 10 minutes long, and that was it. There's really nothing much to it, nothing to really think about or process.
I didn't get too upset over it. It just wasn't very good. I was expecting so much more after Romance Attack. I think that's why it let me down so much, to be fair. I hate hype. I don't like knowing about anything about the game before I go into it. Because I was sort of expecting it to be good, as soon as it took itself seriously, I went, oh god.
Yeah, like, I didn't have any expectations for it, and I guess that's why I didn't really mind it so much. It's just like a quick little, cute little story, which, obviously it's not the kind of thing that most people are going to be into.
The thing is, for me, I've got, like, a test, which is, will you remember, in a month from now, will you remember it? And will you remember the three names of the characters in it?
Yeah, probably not.
Yeah, probably not. You just forget about it because it's not very good. It's as simple as that, really. Heck, I could do it with Magical Diary, Roommates, Sinners, and all of every visual novel I pretty much liked. I can do it with. It doesn't pass a good test. You'll just forget about it because it's 10 minutes of silliness. Nothing happens. You remember that game we played Without Within? It was like that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it was just like 15 minutes and fuck all happens throughout it. It's just silly. Although that was trying to bum off Japan. This didn't do that.
Yeah, the whole thing. That was really obnoxious.
Yeah, at least this didn't do that. It just had Japanese art. It's not even Japanese art. It's just the sort of exaggerated anime character sort of looking like. I cannot stand it. It's just been punched into me. It's just, especially after you see this alongside, like, Cinders. Once you see something like art like Cinders, I challenge anyone to look at this art and then see Cinders and then go, yeah, well, Tunnel Vision's art was actually much better. I wasn't too keen on Cinders. It's just like, okay, what's your address so I can come around and punch you in the face? But yeah, I think we've done that thing again, man, where we didn't think this was going to be a very long podcast, originally, but it was.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, it's gone on for some time, so all of you who've made it this far, I thank you very much. I don't know why you've made it this far. Well done. But, thank you very much. I heart you, and so on. So, do you have anything else to add on to the end of that?
No, I'd just like to thank everyone for their time, like you did, and I guess remind everyone about that competition. Think of your best mods ideas for visual novels, and let us know in the comments, right? That's the way they're going to submit it?
Yeah, Exactly. And if no one enters, Patrick's getting it. So
Sweet.
Yeah, nepotism at its best, basically. So yeah, I think we'll sign off. My name's been Tenarium.
And I've been Tryinmorning.
And it's time to say goodbye. So goodbye.
Farewell.